Welcome to the Elliott Confidential podcast. I'm Christopher Elliott, and I'm here with my boy, Aaron Elliott.
Hello.
Hello. How are you, Aaron?
Feel just fine.
Well, and you should, because
Yes.
we have some big news.
Well, I graduated. That's not technically, but I got done with all my
Close
coursework.
enough.
So
Aaron-
I'll be graduating in like a month.
Yesterday, we were at a really beautiful hotel called the Carlisle Bay in Antigua, which is where we are right now, and I watched you file your final paper.
I know.
What a relief.
What a relief.
Now you have, what's the degree?
Well, I don't have a degree yet.
I don't know, well, what will the degree be?
It'll be a Master's of Arts in Applied Linguistics.
Very good.
I've only been working, well, it's been less than 2 years working on this, but I'll be grateful to have it.
I am so proud of you. Good job.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other people on Facebook right now are congratulating you. I'm sure you've seen them. Everyone's so happy for you.
Yeah.
So we are, we're going to come back to this topic because I think it's really interesting because you actually took your degree while you were traveling. Most people think that that's not possible, but it is. So I want to talk about that. But first, our question of the week, which is, we experienced an earthquake this week. A
I know.
huge earthquake.
Not really.
It was huge-ish. It was
Well-
a 5.3 earthquake between here and Montserrat, and everything was shaken.
Yep, it sounded like a freight train, as they all say. And I was like, I only actually heard it because I was stood up and I was like, oh, someone's car is on like a really big vehicle outside, And then you're like, that was an earthquake. And then I got a notification on my phone that it was an earthquake. I'm like, oh, no way, I didn't feel anything.
It was. In a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the question of the week is, have you ever traveled somewhere and experienced a natural disaster?
Well, I know that we have.
We have
We've
plenty of
definitely.
times. In fact, you might even say the natural disasters follow us around.
No.
Yeah, well,
No.
I'm not referring to your sister either. What's the worst natural disaster you've experienced?
I remember this one time we were staying in a river delta, and it was maybe a riverbed in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And there was a hurricane coming our way, and it made the whole river, the river, it was not the river bed, what do you call it?
Yeah, it was. It was
the
the
riverbed.
river
Made it-
started to overflow,
Yeah.
and we had just bought a new car. We
Yeah.
thought we were going to lose it.
Our home was it was a vacation rental, and it was on stilts. And yeah, it was pretty bad. We thought we were going to lose the car, but everything turned out just fine.
We did not lose the car. The other one that I'm thinking of is Reno during those fires that came so close to our house.
Yeah.
I thought, we're done for. This was right during the pandemic, summer of 2020. We were in Reno, and yeah, that was pretty bad.
Does a pandemic count as a natural disaster?
Yeah, maybe it does. I don't know, but that was an ongoing one. That wasn't like when we were traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
So what happened when we experienced the earthquake was that I watched the whole building shudder and rumble. It felt like it was being shaken. And then I looked across the water, and you can actually, on a clear day, you can see Montserrat. And there is a volcano on Montserrat that erupted and destroyed half the island. And I thought to myself, that's the volcano. We're screwed. And I went and looked at the water, and I was looking for, those telltale signs of a tsunami where the water is going out, and I didn't see it. And I thought, okay, so we're not going to have a tsunami. That's good.
Yeah. Well, supposedly you need about one more on the Richter scale in order to cause a small tsunami. So
Yeah.
we only got a 5.
We only got a 5.
Only a 5.
5 was pretty
An
bad.
average day in Chile.
Yeah, right. And we haven't really experienced a real earthquake since we were in New Zealand, NZ, which was a year ago. We had a couple of smaller earthquakes then.
Tiny.
So, tell us about your natural disaster story. Where have you been where things have gone very sideways? Maybe you've had an earthquake or a fire or a tsunami or a hurricane or something like that. Hurricanes are really popular here in the Caribbean. They get them every year.
Yeah. Well, if your vacation left you shook up, shaken up rather,
Yeah,
then
just leave a comment.
leave a comment. Absolutely.
Should we talk about Antigua?
I think that we still have a lot to discover in Antigua. We're going to leave tomorrow, and this island is really pretty, but
Yeah.
I think that we've just seen a lot of beaches and hotels, and this is a great place for honeymooners, and I think I'll leave it at that.
I think that you're right. Every hotel that we've stayed at here, we've stayed at the Carlisle Bay, beautiful hotel.
And then now we're in Keyonna.
We are in Keyonna Beach. They are all for couples, which means that they have beds, basically king-size beds for couples.
Yeah.
And if you're a couple, you're going to do great here.
Yeah. I mean, this place is very lush, very beautiful. It's just, the biggest attraction is the tourism and the resorts. So if you're going to do anything, it's going to be with a resort, 100%. Because I guess, outside is just there are some restaurants, but, the industry that dominates this island is 100% tourism.
And it's all on the beach.
Yep.
Now, you can go hiking in the mountains, and the hiking is beautiful, but most of it is on the beach because the water is just so beautiful. It's the water, the color is absolutely sublime. It's a color of blue that I have not seen anywhere. And I keep saying this, it looks like it's photoshopped. Everything here looks photoshopped, but it's not. The water is actually, that's the real color. So people come here mainly for that. And one other thing too is the water temperature. Aaron,
Yeah.
You've been in the water, tell me.
The water is super warm here.
It's like a bathtub.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you get your feet in the water, you don't have to worry about, freezing or anything because it is like warm. It's a lukewarm water. Not lukewarm, it's warmer than that. Yeah, it's like bathtub water.
It is. It's like bathtub water. Yeah. And it's translucent, and we've seen a lot of things that we've only seen in aquarii.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
But then-
fish and conch shells. A lot of conch.
Yeah, true. And then also this morning I was sitting in front of a desk and then I felt something on my leg, and I then looked down and it was some sort of lizard creature on my leg. Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's like a gecko, but it wasn't a gecko. It's some sort of maybe not an amphibian, but it was some sort of creature. And I wasn't expecting it at all. I had thought, this surely is like some sort of gecko or whatever, but it's just fascinating the amount of wildlife that really exists here. A lot of it is just totally preserved, it's untouched. We were taking a walk on the beach the other day and there were hermit crabs everywhere, and
yeah.
We haven't seen that, especially compared to other islands where some of that wildlife is much more threatened or it just has been more developed. I think it's really interesting, especially if you're able to get off the resort and just go walk by some of the untouched coastal regions with mangroves and coral.
It's definitely worth taking a walk. If you come here, I would recommend staying at one of these places and then just walking. Just go out and explore. But only go out in the early morning and late evening because during the day it does get quite hot out here. It's about, it's in the high 80s here right now. And even though there's a nice gentle breeze going, it still is, the sun just, it bakes you.
Yeah.
So people here have these little gazebos that they hang out under, and then the staff comes by and takes your drink order, and that's kind of cool too. Although we're not really the drinking kind of people, so we're just watching people do it, and it's kind of neat.
Yeah. Last week we asked what was the latest skill that you had picked up from your vacation.
Ooh, yeah.
And so we wanted to hear about that. DSW Ministries says, I learned how to use the train schedules in Europe to travel to a few countries. Got lost only once. Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Good skill to have.
It's a good skill to have. Didn't you memorize was it the bus or the
oh, yeah. Well,
metro
when I
schedules?
grew up in Vienna, I had all the schedules memorized.
Yeah.
And I would make connections there because I would know exactly when to arrive. It was Yeah, it was good to know the train schedules there. This is before the days of the internet.
Yeah.
George says, when I did my certification dive, I was hyperventilating so much, he learned how to dive obviously, I could not descend even with 20 plus pounds. My instructor grabbed me and pulled me down. Subsequent dives were much easier with much less weight. Still used much more air than the woman that I dived with. So skill to pick up is diving. Hey, we were talking actually, you and I, about diving and the difficulties of learning how to dive in our previous podcast. So he was kind of riffing off that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, diving is not for everyone. Now, as an instructor, I probably wouldn't have pulled him down. That's kind of a no-no. You don't pull your students down. You let them descend on their own. Our next island is going to be Anguilla. And yes, it's very confusing because we're on Antigua now, and we're going to be on Anguilla starting tomorrow. And we've gotten Antigua and Anguilla confused on a number of occasions. Hopefully that won't happen tomorrow and that our flights will all go well. But that is the final island in our series on the Caribbean, and I hope you've been following the stories that I've been writing on sustainability in the Caribbean, and I will link to those as well. And then after that, we have it looks like we've got a pit stop in the United States for just a few days to enjoy Memorial Day.
Few days?
Couple of days, yeah.
It's going to be the Amazon's pit stop.
Yeah,
Amazon, Costco, all of our favorite stores.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yes.
Because really, the one thing, well, it's not just one thing really, it's a lot of things that you miss when you're outside the country.
Yes.
And one of them is Costco and Whole Foods and Publix in Florida. Oh, I love Publix.
Mm-hmm.
And Blaze Pizza. I miss Blaze.
You know, people say Dubai has the best shopping malls. I say the United States is the best shopping mall.
It's one enormous shopping mall. Yeah, right. So we'll be reporting back. We're going to actually do another podcast from Anguilla, and then we're going to take a break ourselves. So hopefully it'll give us a chance to recharge our batteries a little bit, and then you graduate, which is exciting.
Yeah, eventually they'll hand me that degree.
Hopefully, yes.
Fork over the degree.
All right.
Please.
Well, this has been another fun-filled edition of the Elliott Confidential podcast. I am so glad that you joined us. From Antigua, I'm Chris Elliott, here with Aaron Elliott, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.